Welcome to this edition of the Podcasting Podcast, how to get started with podcasting in your organization. In this episode, we're going to have a look at a Canadian pharmaceutical sales team and how they use podcasting to beat Canada's vast remote physical distances. How do you connect with a geographically dispersed audience? iStudio, an interactive agency in Canada, introduced podcasts for one of its pharmaceutical clients as a personal and portable way to communicate with field employees. Ron Clark assumed the role of Vice President, Sales of Altana Pharma Incorporated. The organisation needed a cost-efficient way to introduce the new VP, build rapport between management and their sales staff, and provide insights on key business initiatives. The sales team at Altana is predominantly a remote workforce spread across Canada. In pharmaceutical sales, representatives are primarily on the road for most of the day. Accessing email or company intranet is often a challenge due to the constraints of travelling. iStudio investigated online technologies that would be helpful in reaching a remote workforce and suggested a corporate blog and podcast as the solution. They created Ron's blog, which allows employees to have an open online dialogue with Ron. Ron's monthly podcast is available via the blog. The podcast lasts 10 to 15 minutes and it has a radio show feel to it. In each episode, Ron provides sales updates, shares insights, anecdotes, and interviews special guests. The response to the podcast suggests this medium has been a success. 76% of sales staff accessed the first episode, and 88% accessed the second. The feedback was also positive, with comments like, "It feels a little more personal than an email, and much more emotion attached to it than even a voicemail." Someone else said, "I like it because it's user-friendly. Plus, I think it brings you closer to the sales force." Clearly, employees find the podcasts much more personal than a voicemail or email. In addition, employees like the opportunity to provide input into the content of future podcasts via Ron's blog. Even though the podcasts are primarily intended for sales staff, over 80% of all employees access each episode. To support the process of planning podcasts, iStudio produced a customizable template that lets you plan podcast content down to the very minute. The template includes elements like call to action, a method designed to enliven the audio content and ask the listener to do something. I'll have the link to the customizable template in the show notes. And now I'd like to introduce Rick Beato. Rick is a legend in the online music world, performer, producer, teacher, entrepreneur, and interviewer of some of the giants of the music world. Rick produces a YouTube channel that is always worth watching, even if you aren't a musician yourself. What Rick has to say about vidcasting to the music base applies equally to the rest of the world, including us in the business communication world. I'll put a link to his YouTube channel in the show notes for this episode. Without further ado, here's a selection of relevant statements by Rick.
Over the past few weeks, a bunch of big YouTubers, Tom Scott and Matt Pat in particular, are quitting YouTube. Tom Scott has been doing it for 10 years, and he's got, 6-7 million subscribers. Matt Pat has a game theory channel that has 18.5 million subscribers. And these videos really have a lot of similar things to them. They have a certain format that they talk about, and it's absolutely fascinating to me. Now, I've been watching these things since way back. Lily Singh made one back in 2018, and Andrew Wong made one, and so many YouTubers have done these things. It's literally a genre of YouTube. The way that they talk about it, it's really interesting to hear people describe the process of what it's like and the stress that's involved with making YouTube videos. Now, I don't feel this stress because I make videos on things I'm interested in. I don't care about the views. I could make a video right now on a topic that I know will get millions of views, and I'm making this video instead because this is the video I want to make today. And I find that most of the people that make these videos have really specific upload schedules. Tom Scott would upload on his channel every Monday at 4 o'clock, almost without exception. Matt Pat talked about a couple uploads a week, and most of these people have really defined upload schedules. Anybody that follows my channel knows I put videos out whenever. Whenever they're done, I put them out. If they're done at 9:45 in the morning, I put it out. If they're done at 6 o'clock at night, I put it out. When I do live streams, I do live streams on Thursdays, on Fridays, on Sundays, on Saturdays, sometimes at night, sometimes at 2:30 in the afternoon. I don't ever set schedules. I go on when I'm ready. Sometimes my mic is muted and people are like, Rick, your mic's muted. And oh, sorry. And the first, 20 seconds of it are silent. And I think that the success of my channel is related to me making videos on things I'm interested in. If I always just follow that, it never becomes a job. How do you keep doing this? How do you find new topics? And I said, I just think about things that I'm interested in. Whatever comes to mind, walking around, and I was like, ooh, that'd be something to make a good topic on, or anything I want to explore or talk about. If you just do what you believe, just follow that. I think that is kind of a good life lesson in itself. And then when people ask me about the comments, because that's another thing that people stress out about. They have self-imposed pressure on releasing videos at certain times. Then they look at the comments, they look at the views, and they get incredibly stressed by that. And I always say, if somebody writes a negative comment, it's about them. If somebody writes a positive comment, it's about them. It doesn't matter how many great things somebody might say in the comment section about me or how many bad things they say. I always realize that the comments are really talking through their experiences. And while I appreciate when people say nice things, I never really take it to heart in that way. Because you can't really think about those kind of things, especially on the level when you get, whatever, I don't know how many comments I get per video, but I get a lot of comments. I get a lot of views in my videos. So don't get tied up in things like that. Do things that you believe in. That, to me, is the most important thing.
Mary Spender is a musician from Britain and has achieved notoriety because of her constant showcasing of her own excellent music combined with great product reviews and top production values. What you're about to hear is a summation of a recent video outlining how much money she's made from her YouTube channel. Again, her words are totally applicable to we business communicators, no matter what medium we choose to operate in. Mary came to fame with a music video with YouTube legend Leo Maraccioli playing a cover of Dire Straits' Sultans of Swing. I'll have a link to that video in the show notes, along with Mary's YouTube channel link.
There's an awful lot of conflicting advice out there on the right way to promote your music or build your YouTube channel. And in my mind, showcasing your personality and making content that draws people in is the right way. It's all part of the hustle. Conventional wisdom these days is that you shouldn't spend time on longer form videos like a music video because most people's eyes are on TikTok, and that's what's currently breaking a lot of new music. Well, I don't personally really consume TikTok as a medium, and I don't want to compromise my, wait for it, artistic integrity just to try and find success. People can smell when you're not being real and they don't like it. When you look at an artist like Ren, he's had phenomenal success with high concept, complex music videos, artworks in themselves, because you have to be true to your artistic vision. Every video I've made, I've created because I really wanted to, and each one is an opportunity to get my music into your head as a backing track, as a quick segment, and even as, heaven forbid, the main event. It's all promotion for you and your music, but it's a new and different type of promotion to the old days. but just as valid. In fact, better, because you control the narrative. You're the storyteller. Take care of your community and never take them for granted. 1,000 true fans definitely beats millions of casual listeners. And if you're an absolute riot at short form content, good for you. Play to your strengths. But short form audiences do move on quickly, so it might be a little harder to convert those views to actual ticket sales or an album purchase. So perhaps you go all in on directing them to streaming your music. But whatever you do, make sure you stick with it, because it's a long road to build your audience up, and the urge to quit is going to be ever present, especially when you think that no one is paying attention. The counterpoint to that is that you can't ever guarantee virality, so enjoy it when it comes, but never expect it, and certainly never try to manufacture it, because it's painfully obvious when that's the case. Just be you.
Well, that's another episode of the Podcasting Podcast, how to get started with podcasting in your organisation. If you'd like to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss anything, head to Apple Podcasts, YouTube or Spotify and search for the podcast by name. That is, the Podcasting Podcast, how to get started with podcasting in your organisation. You can email me, lee@leehopkins.com, if something you've heard today sparks your interest. Please make your email subject Podcasting Podcast. Thanks. Because I receive around 60 emails a day and I'd hate to lose yours in amongst them. Until the next episode next week, take some communications risks, because you never know what will pay off, and communicate with passion.